Welcome to the channel, friends. So today's video is going to be an update video on my XP1000 and what's going on with the engine rebuild and my evaluation and inspection of the motor once it was all apart. So I'm going to go really quick from the beginning here. Here is the XP1000. Got the motor out. It was a super pain in the ass. I don't recommend a lot of people doing this because you really need to know what you're doing, and it takes a lot of time to do right. It's a really tight fit in there. You have to remove a whole bunch of stuff, as you can see, to get the motor out. I was able to do it without removing the gas tank, which was good. And I had just barely enough room to remove that motor. And something else I noticed is that my motor was sitting on the frame. So as you can see right here, where that rust is, this is bent inward. So that's from just over the years. I've had this machine almost 4 years now. And I've driven it hard, and I've come down on boulders and rocks and stuff on the trail. You know, you can't just avoid everything all the time. So you end up hitting the bottom of the frame, and it is really not that reinforced. You know, there's no support in the center, so it's going to bend in no matter what. So as you can see here, the motor was actually sitting on this steel. Okay, I'm going to have to bend all that back out somehow with a big crowbar from the underside, and maybe with an eyelet and a nut, and kind of crank down on it from the bottom. So that has to be bent back out in order for the motor to actually be rubber mounted like it is. Okay, so it has 4 mounts, transmission and motor. Once they're assembled, they sit on those rubber mounts. But I was not getting that benefit when this was touching the bottom of the motor. Good thing I didn't crack the bottom of the motor, because one time I did come down on like a 6 or 8 inch boulder that was loose on the trail after doing like a jump. So I'm really glad I did not smash the bottom part of the engine, the bottom case. But I will have to address that, and I just want to show you guys what it looks like when everything's ripped apart. So moving along, that there is the machine all blown apart. Let's go to the workshop now and show you the engine and what the damage looks like after you ingest some water. So let's go right to the connecting rod. So as you can see there, this one here is mint. It is nice and straight. And then this one here on the left is bent like hell. Okay, and then is evidence of discoloration where it's all dark brown, which means it overheated like crazy. That was the smoke I was seeing coming out of my intake and out of the dipstick hole when I would take my dipstick out. So it bent the rod, which in turn, you know, damaged all the bearings in here because it was kind of rotating and it was all skewed because of like the offset pressure on the rod itself being bent and it was not running correctly. So that there, I believe, is the culprit of my screeching and engine problems that I was having after flooding the machine. So if you hear screeching and if you hear the thing sounding like it's out of timing or something, most likely you smoked the rod and the bearings. So you bent that, and that needs to be replaced. But as you can see, there's all sorts of debris and stuff in here in the oil. So that there is from the K&N intake. So that allowed more debris and water into the engine, I believe, versus the stock filter. Now, people can say what they want, but I think it definitely flowed more for sure. And allowed more debris and water into the engine, which potentially could have resulted in this bending. But I don't want to experience this situation ever again, so most likely I will extend the snorkels just to be safe. But as you can see, there's a ton of damage that is done when you ingest water, which is not good. So lots of debris. I have to go through each one of these parts and clean them by hand, which is a huge pain in the ass. Here's the crank. So here you can see where it got overheated and just torched the bearing. This is the bearing that sat right there. It kind of squashed it out, as you can see. So if I let it go any further, it probably would have destroyed this bearing, and it would have started eating into the crank. Really important, if it ever happens to your machine, just stop it. Don't run it anymore, and you're going to have to break down the engine or give it to someone to break down the engine and inspect properly and replace one of the parts that are broken and damaged. So these are the bearings that go on the crank. So right here, these are, I believe, a steel. They feel like aluminum, but they're steel. These are also damaged because of the skewed alignment of the crank, because of the pistons obviously not being in the proper alignment. So that destroys all these bearings. This is the bearing for the connecting rod. As you can see, the one that's in good shape had no issues, but this is the one that bent. It's all brown and discolored from that overheating condition. So I have the parts to replace all this for what I think is damaged at the moment. I will have to go through the cam box and go through each one of the valves and make sure I didn't bend a valve. So when I go ahead and disassemble stuff to clean things further and get rid of all that debris that's in here. With that being said, here are the rest of the parts. You know, head gasket. These are all the old gaskets. I have all new stuff. So this is the bottom half of the case. As you can see, no damage to this itself. All the damage was localized to the bearings and to the connecting rod. You know, I haven't seen any other damage as of yet. Like I said, the only other potential damage is a bent valve, which I don't think I bent the valves, but like I said, I'm going to go through that and check that. What else? The valve cover here, this was full of junk when I first flooded the machine, and I took this off for the first time. There was all sorts of crap in here, like, really large pieces of debris. I don't understand how it got through the K&N. You know, one thing I did notice when the K&N came off is that the K&N collapsed. So lengthwise, it collapsed and bulged in the center. So I wonder if, if that was already in that condition before I flooded it, and it had a little bit of a gap on that rubber seal to the airbox. I don't know. You know, when I took the K&N out, that's the shape it was in. It was kind of collapsed. It could have been because of the water, and then it let more water in the backside. I don't know. But just thinking that could happen is a major problem, because if you do take on water, which will happen to you guys eventually if you have any serious fun with the machine, you want to be safe. So keep the stock air filter. I guess it keeps better shape and form when it comes in contact with water, and it's just better insurance against hydrolocking and seizing an engine. So that's pretty much going to be the video. I showed you guys what the crank looks like, what the connecting rod looks like, all bent up. It's amazing because this is an I-beam rod. This is a super strong rod. As you can see, I-beam construction. I wouldn't be surprised that they don't use this in the XP Turbo, because this is a super strong connecting rod, and it bent that, believe it or not. So that's the update with the damage on the XP 1000 motor. The funny thing is that it ran, but then as it started running for a longer period of time, it started overheating and screeching, which was not good. So if you ever encounter that with your machine, do not take a chance. Like I said, shut it down and have it properly inspected by someone that knows what they're doing. So I know it sucks, but that's part of having fun and kind of, going all balls out with these machines. So it's kind of part of the process and part of the game, I guess you could say. But hopefully we have fun along the way. So that's going to be it for the video, guys. I just want to show you an update. Everything laid out here, what it looks like when it's all blown apart. And that's going to be it. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you have any questions or comments, please place them right down below. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please go ahead and do so. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.